Glad to have you guys with us. Well, I'll tell you what, I will go ahead and just share some basics. I know some of you have been joining us on multiple seminars, so apologies for the redundancy, but just make sure everybody is aware of the entire CARES program and all of the CARES seminars. Not sure how you found us for this one, but just please know that we have got another, I believe, another 15 seminars coming up through mid-February. Would love to have you join us for as many as you can. So many wonderful, very experienced professionals helping us out here. Also, remember the CARES application. If you will go to our website, give you a chance to apply for that program and that ability for us to continue to further help your small business by paying for one of these specialists like Mr. Llewellyn here to continue to help your small business through this difficult time. Anyway, it looks like, oh, we've got quite a few participants. Let's go ahead and officially get started. Obviously, welcome here to Building Sales, Loyalty and Trust in Consultative Sales. My name is Betsy Coulter. I'm with the Collins Small Business Development Center, and we are so excited to have Jerry Llewellyn here with us tonight. This will be an interactive session in the sense that we would love to have your questions. Please use the chat or the Q&A. It will also be recorded, and we will have this webinar uploaded to our YouTube channel within a day or so. If you have any questions, just give us a yell. Let's see here. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, it looks like we've got a pretty good group here. So Jerry, if you'll go ahead and why don't you let's get yours started, and then I will share and introduce you properly. While he does that, let me introduce Jerry Llewellyn, who has more than 30 years of experience in successful management and consulting, assisting key corporate executives and business owners to create strong corporate cultures. Jerry has developed a startup business from $0 in revenue to over $10 million in sales in 2 years. He developed and delivered and continues to high quality seminars on supervision, management, and employee relations. Jerry has created high levels of owner and employee satisfaction, managed performance management systems and national HR functions, and helped many, many businesses be successful. So Jerry is going to share with us tonight on the importance of building sales, loyalty, and trust, and help us to understand some of those special things that we need to know. Jerry?
Thanks so much, Betsy. Really appreciate all the support. Welcome, everybody. So glad that we're here together. This is going to be an exciting time. I'm going to race through some stuff. I want you to put in the chat right now where you're from and what you're selling. Put in the chat right now where you're from. You can put your first name if you like, and what you're selling. I really look forward to telling you some really great stuff, because among the things that I've done, what Betsy was reading was all my credentials on the human relations side, human resource side. What is also true is that I've sold multi-million-dollar contracts over a long period of time in several industries. I have 20 plus years experience in directly working with business owners in the area of sales, employee base of 7 to 7,000. If you need to know more information about me personally, you can look at businesswhisperer.com. And I want you to type in the word fire hose into the chat right now. And the reason is because that's likely to be your experience in this, because I'm going to run through, there's no way I can run through 30 years of experience in 45 minutes and do anything but make it a fire hose. I'm going to do my best, though, to give you something of really high value at the end. The last 10 minutes of this presentation will change your life as a sales executive. If you pay attention and be there for the last 10 minutes, you're going to get something golden out of this presentation. No matter what else you get, be here for the last 10 minutes. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to talk about sales, and we're going to talk about how to do it very well. If we were in person, I'd be finding out more about you and knowing what your needs are and what you are selling. And why would I do that? Because I want to clarify how I can help you get to remarkable results. But I'm going to show you how it's done for people who make sales as a profession. And make no bones about it, sales is a profession. Now, some people may arrive at that profession not knowing how they got there, and it kind of they just found out that they could do it. But it is a serious art and science, and I'm going to spend some time both on the art and science of this. And again, don't miss the last 10 minutes. So if you are in the information that I'm going to be giving you, if you make a committed and sincere experiment about this, if you really base your actions on the principles that I'm going to share with you, and you practice them regularly, you're going to have remarkable sales results. It's just going to happen. It's a consequence of the process. I don't know if you guys have followed national championships lately, but everybody's talking about something called the process, taking the steps in the right order, doing the right thing at the right time, paying attention to where you are now, and moving forward. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't want to make anything, though, unclear. Sales is a hard profession. There's a reason that it's the highest paid profession other than doctors and lawyers. Okay? There's a reason for it. And it's because it's hard. It takes some rare skills and talent, and it takes a devotion to doing things correctly. Now, there's all kinds of different sales approaches, but I'll tell you what we're doing today, and that is business to business sales for consultative sales. Now, if you're in another kind of sales, don't worry about it. You're going to get some really golden stuff out of this. But what we're really talking about today is consultative sales. And how does that look? Well, for one thing, I want you to type in right now what you think consultative sales is. Please go ahead and put in the chat what you think consultative sales is. Okay? Well, I can tell you in a nutshell, it's focused on the customer needs. It's focused on the customer. It prioritizes the relationship with the customer. It opens communication with the customer. And most important, it's driven on providing solutions. Well, how can you provide solutions? What are you providing solutions to? You're providing solutions to the needs and problems of the clients. And I can tell you that the best sales companies all across the world in every industry are using consultative sales. So what does it look like? Well, there's stages and actions that are involved, and there's commitments and competence involved. So there's quite a bit that's involved in being consultative versus sales driven. What do I mean by sales driven? What do you think I mean by sales driven? Well, I don't know if you've ever been somewhere. Put it in the chat what you think it is. I can tell you that, if you've ever been on a street corner sometime during Christmas time, somebody may approach you and they're being sales driven. They haven't asked you what you needed. They've asked you, here's what I've got and here's how much it is, and buy it now and I'll give you 50% off or whatever. That's sales driven. Consultative sales is different. And I'm going to drill right down into it, into the 7 stages of the consultative sale. I want you just to scan that. We're going to go over each one of those points. You guys do not need to take notes because you've got a PDF on this that's been sent to you. It's going to be recorded. If you want to take notes, here's what I would do. Just take notes on the things that, are questions in your mind or things that you want to dig into later, because there's going to be plenty of information coming your way. You go ahead and start texting fire hose if you need to. Sales process stages. What do we want to accomplish? Well, at the end of the day, like all sales programs, we need to be able to qualify whether a client is worth it. What do we mean by qualifying? What do you think I mean by qualifying? I mean, is the person willing to buy and have the resources to buy? I need to qualify them. Are they a potential client of mine or customer of mine? I need to be able to take control during the sales process. I can't let the customer just wander all over the place and take me with them. I've got to have some sense of control in a respectful way. How do I do that? I got to be able to close this sale. I need to be able to hand the pen to the guy and have him sign the contract. To the man or woman that I'm talking to, I need to be able to know who they are and be able to work with them as a person to go down the path to close. I also want to end up with something. I want to end up with some opportunity to expand in the future, building that relationship over time. So the sales process. So, if we really built this out, if we had 2 days to do this adequately, we would be building a list at every stage, very precise list of questions that might be there that need to be resolved by me, the salesperson. I want to know what the problems are. I need to know who the decision makers are specifically. Who are the decision makers? And am I talking to one right now? What are their objections? What are the objections that are in the way? Everybody has objections. I can tell you, if your customer doesn't have objections, either you've been doing business with them a long time and they don't care anymore, or they're not a customer in the first place. They're not somebody you're going to be able to do business with, because it's legitimate for everybody to have objections to buying. So the stages have to align. Whatever stages we use in the consultative sales process, there has to be an alignment so that the customer is aligned with you along the way, that their awareness of what you're doing and who you are and what you're representing as a solution provider, that their awareness is aligned with where you want them to go. And they're going to evaluate the situation that they're in so that they can come to a conclusion to make a purpose. And they want to be able to optimize, and you have to be able to show them how they're going to optimize what you have to offer for the best results in their company. So step one is the same thing as stage one. Stage, same thing in this particular model. So it's a very important stage. This is where we go out and learn as much as possible ahead. This is before we meet the customer. We want to understand what industry they're in, what game they're playing, what the circumstances are in the industry. Are there compliance issues that are out there for them? And you want to be able to put yourself in their shoes. You want to know, what would it be like if I was there and I was under the kind of constraints and the kind of trends that were there. How does Betsy? You're still there. Great. Building sales loyalty and trust. Step one continued. I want you to know that you need to know how this customer feels pressure. How do they know? How do they know how to proceed in their work? What are the pressures that they feel? Not only do we want to know it from an industry standpoint, we want to know the trend. If the industry is going down, we need to know that. If the industry has an opportunity to move up, we need to know that. This is a pre-stage opportunity to introduce to them some ideas. If we go out and research in their industry and we come back and tell them some creative ideas, some things that might solve some problems for them, they're going to identify us as an expert. And that's what we need to be, a problem solver in their mind and an expert. So the last thing that is to be said is, we need to be able to find out if we can be of service to them. So what we say is something like, if this is true, we're only making truthful statements here, but here's an example. Okay, industry leaders in your area, we discovered in our research, is that the economy has made it difficult for them to find new clients, new customers. And at their request, at those customers' request, we've been able to help them find new avenues to attract new business. That's just an example, okay? The point is that we're going to reach out into research, find some ways that we can grab their attention and point out the fact that we're helping to lead them, we're helping them to meet their needs. So very specifically, the second step. So the first step was research. Second is ask, and there's a goal attached to it. There's a goal for every step. Explore and access is the goal for asking. So what we're going to do is we're going to find out how the prospect can tell us who they are. We want them to educate us. We want them to tell us who they are. We want to ask open-ended questions. We're letting them lead us in this situation. This is sort of like a dance, You kind of give them an opportunity to lead the dance here. Now, in your mind, you're always in control. You're letting them lead, and you're wanting to guide them in the process to come to give you information that you need to be able to meet their needs. And if you do that, if you ask in the right way, and we're going to get to another step called listen that supports this, you're going to build rapport and trust, and that's going to give them a sense of feeling that you're a credible, honest person that they want to do business with. You're going to learn what their priorities are. And if you learn their priorities, you're going to showcase a priority that you can do something about. If there's some priority that they have that you can do something about, You want to emphasize that and clarify that. You're going to help them determine that there are options out there, that they don't have to do the same old, same old. There's another way, a better way. Hopefully that better way is in your pocket and you can teach them about your service when it's the right time. But right in the beginning, you're not selling, you're not promoting, you're learning. This is the time to ask, and you're trying to help them frame the development of decisions for the future. So you can also be a helpful person by giving them things. You can give away blogs. You can try to help them problem solve in certain areas, obviously only in areas that you're competent in. You provide relevant resources to them. You help them, find information. And all you're doing is establishing yourself over and over again as a solutions provider and as a helpful person in their thing. Anything that can grab their attention and retain their attention, that's helpful to them. You want to be able to be a solution provider. So the discovery process, the asking is a discovery process. And what you're trying to discover is every element of that you can that could be relevant to making the sale. You're looking for practical concerns that they have, emotional concerns, what they might be frightened of, what they might be angry about, what they might be sad about in relation to business. I'm not talking about therapy here, guys. I'm talking about making a sale, but I am talking about that people, these are human beings that we're dealing with, and they certainly have emotional concerns about what they're experiencing in their world right now. I'm sure you can validate that. You want to know what their values and beliefs are, and you certainly want to discover their objections. So the third step is a very important thing. Perhaps the most important thing is that we want to be able to listen and to prove to them that we can listen. And we're going to do that by a technique called active listening. And all that really is responding in a manner that shows them that you're understanding what they're telling you. You want them to have them feel that you understand their needs, that you understand what's important to them in relation to their business, and certainly in relation to the area of interest that your product or service represents. And you certainly have to get to a stage. Now we're into a more active stage. We need to be able to differentiate ourselves. We need to be able to develop solutions and show them how we are different. And I'd like you to chat right now. How are you different? How is what you do different than the person down the block? How are you different? There's something different about it. This is an obvious important thing in the field of marketing, but it's equally important because you're taking what you've developed in marketing and bringing it into the sales equation. And this is where you're going to be talking about what your unique selling position is. What is the unique way that your service has the value to it? You've got to be able to show the value of your product or service. You've got to show them how it provides value to them. So in differentiating, again, what is making you different? If you give an example of success, if you say something like, hey, my partner and I took a company from $53 million in sales to $85 million in one year. Would you like some of that? What are you doing? You're trying to show a differentiation. Not everybody can do that. So you've got things, believe me, every one of you is a unique individual. Every one of you have crafted your intelligence into your business. You definitely have a unique selling position, and it's up to you to discover it. If you need some outside help, you ask for it. So as we move down, the most important thing is that you're a solutions provider. Now at stage 5 in the consultative sales process, I'm going to inform. I'm going to share my research findings. I'm going to tell them what the solution is. I'm going to inform them that if tech has a role, if there's some software program that helps, whether it's your software or somebody else's software that can be tied in to expand the value of what you're presenting, you certainly in today's world want to be knowledgeable about how tech can play in your product or service. So there are examples. I want you to think through for yourself. If you are informing a client, I want you to be very specific about what you are explaining to them about what your value is. You've got to provide answers and show solutions to their needs, not what you think their needs are, but what they think their needs are. And you want to be able to display your expertise at this time. If you remember, I never said anything about expertise up until now. Okay? I do think that it's very important that you understand that you don't promote until it's time to promote. Now is the time to inform and to give people an opinion about where you are. Okay. Look at this slide. Rather than me talking over your thinking, you look at this slide and tell me what you think about it. Put a text in the slide, in your chat box. Put something in there about this slide. You definitely want to begin to have them walk down the decision. You know, you need to know what their decision criteria is. You need to know that. And obviously, you got to know what the procurement process is and confirm that the solution that you're providing meets their expectations. Okay, if you're selling to an owner, if what you're selling is a product and service directly to an owner, it may be as simple as he makes the decision, cuts you a check. End of story. On the other hand, if you're in a fairly big organization and they have a number of people involved, you got to know what that process is. What is that process? Who has to approve what? Obviously, we have to close this sale. You got to be clear about this. The customer is the one that's making the purchase. You're going to handle, you and your company are going to handle the implementation and follow-up. And the prospect has to feel supported all the way to the close. And we're going to do trial closes and tie down. And I want you to go to your chat right now and tell me, what is a trial close and a tie down? What is it? Well, a tie down is nothing more than saying something that keeps them in the game and keeps them flowing down and has them tell you that they are aligned with what you're saying. Like right now, if I was to say a tie down is a very important thing, it helps the prospect move down the sales process. And one of them might be something as simple as, are you with me? Did you hear what I said? My product actually has the most protective quality of any product in the industry. It's, you know, the steel framework of it is lighter and stronger than steel. Are you with me? Okay, it's simple. It connects them to what you're doing and keeps them moving out. And if they say yes, then they have affirmed that they're with you and that they're moving down, they're listening to you. Are you with me? Please respond in the chat. That's a tie down. Trial close is something different. Trial close is a very important step to know how close you are to being able to close. And that would be something like that. When would you like to start with us? When would you like the service to begin? When would you like us to deliver your product? That's not asking him to sign the contract. It's asking him for information that would be there if he signed the contract, right? If he or she. Right. And so if they say maybe never, well, you've got some objections to deal with. It's a discovery. You're finding information that you need to know. But a trial close simply is asking for a piece of something that would be, you know, what would happen if we did this? You know, you can ask people like, what would it be like for you if you had the results that our that our product offers? What would it be like if you had the results that we're promising? That's a kind of a part of a trial close, giving evidence that they're paying attention, that they see the level of value that's here and they're interested in it. Okay, going on. So basically, we want to make sure that we keep in touch with all the stakeholders. If there's more than one person that's involved, we can't afford to assume that, you know, that these stakeholders don't need to be communicated with. You want to communicate with all the people, but you definitely want to support your champion prospect. And what do I mean by champion's prospect? I mean the person that's your point person in the sale. May not be the final decision maker, but you got to have that person stay supported. So it's important to understand this. There's a natural time for closing, and you know it. If you're a real salesperson, you know when it's time to close. And I'm just saying that's either out of experience or just by paying attention. If you really are listening, doing a good job of listening, you'll know if you ask the question, when would you like our service to begin? And he says next week, well, I would turn the contract around and hand the person a pen, close it. So that's the whole idea. You do tie downs and trial closes so that you know that you're leading them down the path. You do a trial close to make sure that they're with you, at the stage that you need to be in. If you've handled all their objections, then it's time to then stop selling. If you've handled it, do you have any other questions? Are you ready to move forward? You ask them. That's a trial close. Okay. If they say yes, you hand them the pen. After you close, the implementation stage is quite important. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I want to reserve our time for our closing powerful 10-minute presentation that's just around the corner. But it is a place where customers evaluate our results, and you want to stay with them during that time. You want to discuss the results and continue to prove value. You want to ensure that there's a foundation of trust there, and you want to build that relationship over time, because you want to actually become a natural extension of their business. You want them to feel at home with you and that you clearly have a place in their relationship. I have clients that have gone on for years and they don't even think of me as an outside party anymore. I am, an outside party, and they cut me a check as an outside party person. But at the end of the day, they're relating to me as a team member, not as, something on the outside that they have to bother with. I have proven value, shown value, and that's why people will want you. You want to show real value. It helps if you care about people, by the way. And if you do, then you're in good hands to move forward to be a high quality salesperson. And this is all about, there are two kinds of leadership styles. There's all kinds of leadership styles, but the one that particularly fits steward and servant leadership, both of those strategies and leadership styles work extremely well with consultative sales. So defining the sales process, you have to understand, you have to have a customized sales process. It isn't going to happen on its own. You have to sit down and think about it, but it really doesn't have to take months to do. You just need to sit down and think about it. If you need outside support, you get it. You've got to have to build this customized process with your team of sales leaders, your top performers in operations and customer service, and your marketing people. You got to map out what you're doing, because you can't go out in the market and tell people something about yourself and then turn out and sell it a different way. You all have to be on the same page. Now, marketing, we haven't talked about, and it's not the subject of today's conversation, but I can tell you that marketing is a very, very central part of the whole pie, and you got to have that talent in right. So please, there's other seminars here available for marketing. Some of them were recorded, but marketing is a very important piece. You have to have decent, capable leads, people that are willing and able to buy. And you have to have some way of getting them. And marketing is marketing's job. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a proposal. I'm going to make it really quick. There's an old book called Spin Selling. And you're going to follow this logic because it's worked and it continue to work. It works now and it always will work. Because here's the strategy. You take in a proposal, you actually put the word situation down, and then you just write a dialogue about it. What's the situation that the customer's in? They've been in business so many years. They sell so-and-so. Their challenges, they're facing challenges in this way and that, and their goals are this and that. You explain the situation. Then if there's problems, you certainly hope there's problems so that your service or product can solve those problems. You explain what that problem is. And if there's a root cause to the pain in the problem, you want to say that too. This word blood wall is just a graphic way of saying, if you were up on a whiteboard somewhere, we would put this information in red ink. We put it in red ink. Why? Because it's their pain. We need them to see the pain so that we can understand that there's value in solving that problem. There's value in it. So in the problem, you want to talk about, some of the challenges that they're facing. And you want to know what the implication, the next section is the implication of those. What is the implication if those problems continue? What are the things that they're liable to lose? What are they going to miss out on? What opportunities will they miss? And then you want to explain the need that they have for a solution and what's the payoff if they use your product and service. And that's the whole nature of it. And people that do this, if you've done a good job in the sales process and you know their problems, you know what their needs are, and you're able to shape your presentation in such a way that you are a solutions provider and you give this to them, they are going to buy in a high percentage. Okay. You got to make sure you've asked, are there any other questions? Is there any, are you ready to move forward? Trial close. But I'll tell you, there's none of this that matters. Not a single element of this that matters unless there's one thing. And I want you to put in the chat bar right now, what do you think that one thing is? What is the one thing that if it's missing, none of this sales program that I've just told you, this highly intelligent, well-proven consultative sales process, what is it that would be missing? I want you to write that down in your chat right now, please. What is the one thing that if you're missing on your sales team?
Looks like we got one person says trust.
That's an excellent result. We absolutely must produce trust. Absolutely great response. However, what I'm fishing for is one thing that you need to have in order to get trust. And that is you have to have on your sales team, I'm talking about the sales team itself, you have to have quality salespeople. Okay? It starts with people. You can't, I'll be honest with you. It's not that salespeople are born, but some of them have more talent than others when they're born. It's true, you can teach sales to almost anyone, but the ability to carry it out has to do with a lot of different factors, including some basic instincts and some basic skills. And those people have to have them. Plus, I'm going to tell you about it. You got to build quality sales teams in a high value culture. Okay. And what do I mean by that? You've got to recruit quality employees. And why? Because your business life depends on it. And what do you need? If it depends on what you're selling, I admit. Okay, if you just need order takers, somebody to stand at a desk and pick up a phone and say, yes, here's how much this is, buy it from me. That's an order taker. That's fine if that's works for you and your business. But if you need people to go out and represent your company and knock on doors, whether virtual or otherwise, then you need hunters. You need to recruit hunters, people that want to bring home the meat, people that want to go out there and take some chances or make some educated plans and strategies. There's two types of people, one that are willing to take the risk and the others that are prepared to avoid the risk. And they're so prepared, they're willing to go out and do the work of sales. Okay, whether that's in person or virtually or over the phone, you still have to have people that are hungry to make a sale. Okay, that's what you need. And if you don't have that, well, then I would seriously sit down and give some thought to it. Okay, we don't need farmers. We don't need teachers. We need farmers and teachers in various situations. But in the area of sales, we need hunters, people that are going to go out and get the business. Okay. Now it's okay to, if you don't have a team full of hunters now, that's fine. But along the way, if you can get a hunter, you know the difference. If you've ever had a hunter, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't had one, I hope you have one soon. We want to develop star performers. We want to clarify company values. And we want employees that will demonstrate emotional intelligence. We don't want a hunter that's going to go out there and make everybody mad at you. Okay? You need to have people that have emotional intelligence and respect for other people. Okay. So if you do right things in the sales management area, you're going to be able to prosper. You're going to be able to actually do this example of $53 million to $85 million in 1 year. That is potentially possible for you. If you're more at 530,000 to 850,000, all right, that's still a nice thing to do. You can do that if you have the right sales approach. You have to have the right sales manager. You have to train the sales manager in the right methodology. And people make this mistake over and over again. They take their best salesperson off the floor and they try to make them the sales manager. And I'll tell you what they just did. They just took money out of their own pocket because they took somebody that could really produce for them in sales and tried to make them a manager. And if they don't have the basic, skill sets for a manager, which is different than being a high-level closer, there's something different that's required of a manager. You have to be a good supervisor. You have to actually care about people. You have to be willing to handhold people, for heaven's sakes. And most real hunters don't want to do that. So be careful of what you do in pulling your best people and say, oh, I need more of that. Let me just make that guy the sales manager. People routinely fire those people after a year or so, and they start all over again and do it again. And you got to stop that process. You have to understand what sales management is, and then you have to apply the technology and the science of management to that function, just the way you would in any other area that has to be well managed. And this is the last part of this bullet section. The fortune is in the follow-up. Has anybody heard that before? Please put in chat if you've heard that before. The fortune is in the follow-up. I assume that almost all of you have heard of that before, but I can tell you, you can't say it too many times. A person that can pick up the phone one time is great. Make a good quality presentation is great. But the world says that it takes about 5 touches, 5 different interactions to close a deal, most deals. That may not be true in your industry. It may be different, but think of it. How many people give up on the 3rd or the 2nd presentation? And you don't give up, you follow up. Okay, so there's all kinds of different elements that are here. I'm wanting to speed forward to honor my promise to give you something really of high value here. All of this has high value. You've got to be able to actively listen and leverage technology for lead generation. All of these are important points, but please go back and feel free, give me a call if you want to on any of the question or content here. All right, folks, now it's time. I'm so excited to give you the 5 doors of the unconscious, okay? This is going to blow some of your mind. Some of you are not going to know what I'm talking about until further on. Some of you will. I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you the story about this first, and then I'm going to tell you the elements of it. There are 5 doors to the unconscious. And why would you want to get to the unconscious? Why would you care? Put it in the chat, please. Put it in the chat. Why would you want to get to the unconscious? What is he talking about, the unconscious? Well, all the resistance to sales is in the conscious mind. The person's thinking, oh my God, can I get the salesperson out the door? Why am I doing this? Yes, I'd like something, but I really don't have time today. There's all this chatter and sales resistance in the person's mind. Well, you got to find a way to get around that, and yes, you can certainly say, oh, I noticed you have a UT sticker, up on your wall, or whatever college is appropriate to the area that you're in. Hey, that is really, quite honestly, not the real professional sales way. There's nothing wrong with doing some of it, but at the end of the day, what you're wanting to do is to get through the conscious chatter and get to the unconscious mind. And why would you do that? Well, because you can awaken the client's needs for your products and services if you can do that. You can compel the client to a sense of urgency about taking action. You can help anchor the authority and credibility that you have as a company as the right place to buy. Now, honestly, I'm wanting you to use this tool as an honest human being, because this is powerful information. It needs to be used responsibly, because it's used all over the place. Not so responsibility, but it's used because it works. Because if you can get to the unconscious mind, the unconscious actually operates like a computer. Do you get that? Please put in the chat if you get it, that the unconscious mind acts like a computer. It just does what it is told. You can write that down. The unconscious does what it's told. So if you can access it, So how do you access it? One of the doors is authority, If you can say something about your experience, you've got 30 years experience, you've got these awards, you're the largest or the oldest dealer, you have 2 or 3 generations of leadership, you've got collectively 100 years of collective industry knowledge, you work with certified technicians, whatever it is. What are your authority and credibility statements? It's very important. You need to know that this will open the door. This will make an impact. That's why, but believe it or not, some people take, that the way the mind works, all we have to do is plug some famous person into the script and have them talk, and suddenly we think it's important. We certainly accept it, that there's an authority there. And you know what? It works. It works because we have, our unconscious mind is looking for authority and credibility. The other thing is another doorway. So the first one was authority. The second one is intense emotion. And that can be fear, anger, or sadness. And it can be other emotions too. What's in your wallet? All sales have an emotional component. And the question is, what's pressing the prospect? Are they fearful? Is the environment that they're in scary? Can we move forward? Are they excited? There's some emotional component that's there. We need to know what it is, because we're actually going to leverage that in our communication with them so they can feel what we're talking about. If they have a fear, if, for example, we want to say we have a solution for it. We want to have them know that we're there with them in whatever emotion that they're feeling. The third door is repetition. Repetition. Please put in the chat what this is. Repetition. Why is that important? Because believe it or not, if you say something 3 times, repetition, 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 now naturally you'd weave it into conversation, but if I said repetition was the most important door to the unconscious, if I said that 3 times, you would believe it. Well, quite honestly, any door is equal to another door. That's what's really true. So I want you to hear what's really true is all the doors open to the unconscious mind, and what you say after the door opens up is what they remember. So if we say, our solution protects your future at the best, highest level of the industry, and you say that 3 times in the course of your presentation, a person absorbs that. It goes in like the torpedo in the Death Star. Except in this case, we're trying to give them the truth. We never want to use this or any other area of marketing or sales to tell anything that's not fully honest. The next one is peer influence. Peer influence is highly important. It actually shapes what is peer influence? Give me an example of peer influence. Please put in the chat something that has to do with peer influence. You know what this is. You've heard it a million times. We sell this to people just like you all across the country. Everyone, people like you in your community, in your golf club, in your country club, in your church are buying this product and are happy with the results of this product. Peer influence. People just like you buy this product. CEOs just like you, sales managers just like you, salespeople just like you are buying this product. Peer influence. The last one I'm not going to spend any time on because hopefully nobody's selling like this. Trance hypnosis. Believe it or not, I did have a client among that $53 million to $85 million in 1 year that we generated. We did have one out of those 50 salespeople that were on that team. We had one that sold this way. And I didn't want that guy to be sitting anywhere near anybody else because I didn't want anybody else replicating the style. And it's somebody that just talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks. And the other person at the other end of the line is somehow just being pulled along in this conversation. And suddenly they say, well, why don't you buy, 10 from me today? And the guy just says yes. It's not that it doesn't work, but I don't want to train it, and I don't want to teach it, and I don't want to be in the same room with anybody that's doing it. But because it is a door to the unconscious, I didn't want you to be surprised if you came across it later on in your research, because I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to research something. Before we go to questions, I want you to research. I'm going to go back to this one, fear and anger, and I'm going to tell you something really quickly. So in the turn of the century, the American Tobacco Company, this is the 19th century I'm talking about now, the American Tobacco Company had a major problem. They had sales at the level of 51% in males and only 10% in females. And they were besides themselves. There were all these taboos. Good women, good women don't smoke. It's taboo to smoke. Good girls don't smoke. There were all these taboos laid on women, okay, for smoking. Now, I'm going to apologize that this analogy is about smoking, which we all know kills people. But at the end of the day, this is what was happening. So I'm just telling you a historical fact, because this is the foundation of American marketing. And you can research yourself, torches of freedom. Put in the chat box, torches of freedom, torches of freedom. And that's what you're going to, after we're done here, you're going to Google that and go look at torches of freedom. And you're going to see the foundations of American marketing. The American Tobacco Company found somebody over in Europe. They brought him over. And this guy turned out to be the son of Sigmund Freud. And who do you think Sigmund Freud is? What did Sigmund Freud invent? Well, Sigmund Freud invented the concept of the unconscious. He researched it. He had principles about it. And he said that everybody's driven by these unconscious forces, including intense emotion. Well, women in that day in America were suffering from the suffrage movement, okay? They didn't have the right to vote. And guess what? What do you think they were feeling about it? Write in the chat box what you think they were feeling about it. Well, they were mad. They were mad as hornets about it. They were all kinds of demonstrations and riots and all kinds of stuff going on. And, they couldn't win the day, and they were really mad. So this guy, Sigmund Freud's nephew, who'd learned all the principles of the unconscious from Sigmund Freud, came over and he crafted a marketing program. He'd had success in Europe. He was going to try it on American soil. So this is what he did. At 12 noon, all across the country, in train stations and in major hotel lobbies, which at the time were the big visible places in the community, beautiful actresses dressed to the hilt, with all the photographers from newspapers all across the city were there to photograph with scripts already written for the newspaper article the next morning. At 12 noon, they lit a match, struck it up, and smoked a cigarette in public. And the headlines of the paper the next day were torches of freedom. Women throw off the bondage. They throw off the taboo. They are empowering themselves to be themselves and to express themselves. And you know what? Sales for women smoking went up like that. In over 10-year time, it just took 10 years. And after 10 years of that campaign and everything, that women were smoking at the same rate as men. God help us all. Okay, but that is the framework of American marketing. And from that time, every product and service that had previously been sold with just pedestrian, utility about how something was, lasted a long time and, it was, durable and all of that, suddenly everything became style. That's where women's style exploded. That's where all the marketing in the world has come from, is leveraging these doors to the unconscious mind. So I'm telling you, whoever you are, at whatever level you are, if you will adopt these into your scripts and understand the power of this, you will progress in a way that you never thought possible. It is really possible through this applied intelligence to really craft some very powerful scripts. And, I'd really like to hear from you about what you think about that. Let's go to the questions.
Oh, wonderful, Jerry. Thank you. Some of the comments and things as you were asking folks to post and all, in terms of what you focus on and what your skills are, talking about folks mentioned building relationships, selling to customer requirements, narrowing down choices, which is important, we kind of in the sales process. But what do you feel is the most important skill for success in consultative sales?
Okay. I'd like to answer that, but I'd like everybody to chat right now. What is the answer to that question? What is the most important skill in the consultative sales process? Well, I can tell you as a sales trainer, having trained regionally and nationally in sales, the one that people have the most difficulty with is listening.
Mm.
And it really is the most important thing. You should really be listening at the ratio of 80-20. You should take that 80-20 principle and realize that the customer, the client, needs to be able to be talking at least 80% of the time. Now you're doing your 20% is as a guide, is guiding them and where they're going. You're not just listening to anything, you're directing them, you're asking them questions, you're helping them go, but you're proving your ability to listen. Most people don't listen. Most people are waiting for somebody to shut up so that they can say the thing that they're thinking next. And I can tell you that that is not listening. Listening is that you clear your mind and ask yourself, what is this person saying? What is underneath what they're saying? What is the emotional content and what are they specifically saying? And you ask questions about it and you respond in kind. You say, do you mean X? Oh, I see. You mean, that this product will not sell after 5 o'clock. You make a comment that lets them know that you're getting them both in terms of the content and the quality and tone of what they're saying. So Betsy, that's my answer.
Oh, perfect. Kind of along the same vein, then, what's the most important, or I guess probably the most important component, on your sales team, including yourself? I mean, a lot of the folks on here today, they are their sales teams. They're it, until they've grown. So when you what's the most important component there?
Well, let's hope that we all don't have to fire ourselves today. Okay. Because the most important component is the salesperson themselves. And I want to challenge you. I realize that everything has to be driven by the profit model and has to be driven in a healthy business way, a comprehensive manner that allows you as a person to move forward. You can't, but if you're not good at sales, you should know it pretty soon. And if you're not good at it, you should consider how else you can do it. I mean, I've seen people that have been able to find, commission only salespeople. I'm not saying it's easy to find good ones, but it works if you can find a good one. That's a whole nother discussion, but I'm just telling you that the salesperson is the most important component of the sales program. What is that person's motivations? Are they capable of making a commitment to sales and following up? And look, I know being an entrepreneur myself, how difficult it is to put the hat on and do everything. But I'm wanting you to know that sales is such a vital link that you cannot afford to not look at yourself and see if you're the one. Now, if you don't know how to sell and you need more information, and more information would make you more comfortable, and therefore you could do a better job of sales, and take that path. Okay? It's not that you can't learn. Okay? It's just that selling in a consultative way is really just doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. A person is stepping up, wanting to buy something. They're wanting their needs to be met. Okay? But you have to listen to them to know what their needs are. And you have to be able to honestly assess, do I have a solution? In the basket that I brought today, do I have a solution? And if I do, all you're really doing is educating the person at that point that you have a solution. Are they interested in a solution?
And thank you. And a question that just kind of popped up, and I thought about this earlier too, is, so much of this is obviously in a B2B, in a business to business. What about the business to consumer? Are there adjustments to be made, or does all
Oh,
of it?
absolutely. This same strategy, certainly the doors to the unconscious works extremely well with consumers. Now it all depends on what it is. I mean, you have to have something that has a high enough value to keep a person on the line long enough to have a quality conversation with them. It has to be important enough to them. And it depends if your consumers are coming to you. Your script is quite different if they're coming to you versus you going to them, and that's why I said marketing was so important. If you're in the fortunate group that has consumers coming to you, then certainly you can craft a script that helps them see your product line in the full light that it deserves.
Wonderful. Well, are there any other questions or any other, Jerry, is there anything you'd like to close us with here to kind of summarize all this wonderful information?
um, well, I'll be honest that the best thing to do is people respect you if you're a genuine person. um, Not gaining the knowledge is a significant thing. To be able to understand where you are in the sales process. But if you're a genuine person, people will cut you slack. If you express yourself with sincerity and clarity, and you're really on their side, you're really trying to do them some good, you're really trying to be of help, they will feel that. They will know that. They won't know that if you don't shut up and listen.
We're back to listening now,
Yeah.
the most important skill
Yeah,
there.
I can't. I can only say, but you're not, again. Listening is active. You're actively looking for what their needs are, how you can help them. You're looking for an understanding of them. Okay, and it's all about then making sure that you have something of value, then you can communicate with them. And if you can do that, you don't have to change yourself. You don't have to be Jerry. You don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to change your stripes. Just show up as a genuine person. Some of the best salespeople are people that educate people. I didn't say you couldn't be an educator. I said you had to be a hunter first. And when you get there, you're going to educate.
Wonderful. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Jerry. I will close up. Just a reminder, Jerry, would you pop up that last slide for me?
I sure will.
Just another one more little reminder about the CARES program. Also, just remember that you will get an evaluation from today. Very, very simple. And we greatly appreciate it if you'll take 30 seconds to just check those boxes for us. We want to be able to continue to do programs like this. And we need your feedback and your input for us to make that happen. So if you don't mind doing that, and then also get on our website and sign up for more seminars and sign up for the CARES application. And we would love to see how we can help your business. So thank you. Jerry, if you'll hang on just a minute. But thank you guys, appreciate it. And we hope to see you on the next one.
Thanks for everybody's attention today. Really appreciate it.